What is up, everybody? This is me, Darren, again. Just from where we last left off, we was talking about basically everything about Street Fighter. For those of you that didn't know, and people that didn't necessarily know anything about Street Fighter just assumed a bunch of stuff that kept being taught wrong. Today we're going over. This is Terry Bogard of this says King of Fighters, but keep in mind, this whole thing with SNK started with Fatal Fury, Terry Bogard being one of the main protagonists. Fatal Fury, like I said in the last video, was actually made by the developers of the original Street Fighter game. So when Fatal Fury was released around the same time as Street Fighter 2, uh, people thought that, oh yeah, this was a Street Fighter 2 ripoff, and exactly it wasn't. People complained that, oh, and it's not as good as Street Fighter 2, and it wasn't trying to compete with Street Fighter 2. With the original Street Fighter, since you can only play as one character, or as the pretty much the same character with the exact same move set. What they did with this was you had three characters to choose from, and with those three characters, you had three different fighting styles. You know, uh, that definitely brought a little bit of diversity into the game. Problem was, since it was released at the same time as Street Fighter, when the line in Street Fighter was too long, it was like, okay, you know, too many people want to play. Oh wait, here's a game kind of like Street Fighter, but I feel like beating somebody up. So yeah, I'll just play this game. That's pretty much what Fatal Fury was. It was a great alternative for its time. The graphics might not have been up to par, nor the arts or gameplay not as smooth, but it was the only 2D fighting franchise where you were actually able to use the foreground as well. You got um uh, here they are standing toe to toe. All of a sudden, dude steps to the side. So basically, you sidestep, and then you gotta back up, and now you're back in the using the background. Now you're in the foreground, which was cutting edge for its time. Uh, considering this, how bad 16-bit graphics were, and especially to be able to do that for home consoles was definitely difficult. And SNK, the whole basically started with a bunch of people that used to work for Capcom, then broke off into this. Now, one thing that people don't seem to realize about Fatal Fury or Southtown in general, if you look up anywhere, especially Wikipedia, it says Southtown is a fictional American town. Then when you watch the Fatal Fury animes, uh, it's cobblestone. Nowhere in the nowhere in the United States is the entire all the roadways cobblestone. Then you got the fact that hmm, uh, Terry Terry is supposed to be. They basically modeled Terry after um uh, the stereotypical American teenager. Uh, they get he got the the red All Star Converses. He got the skinny blue jeans because at the time this was our late 80s, early 90s. They gave him the trucker cap and the red denim jacket with the star. Uh, because he's supposed to be he was more or less the main protagonist. Uh, they were everybody says, okay, Southtown is a fictional American town. Terry had to come back to Southtown on a ferry boat. So, and last time I checked, not even like Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard or any of those places like that actually have cobblestone. Then you got the fact that in Fatal Fury 2, he's on a motorcycle traveling from uh, England to England to Germany and back. obviously, so this isn't, so obviously Southtown is in Europe. If you're wondering, this isn't a glare. I've got a very bad sunburn on both my shoulders. Um, I was basically doing landscaping, and I don't like sunscreen. It's greasy. I get very uncomfortable, and so normally I just wear a t-shirt. I didn't have a t-shirt. I had a black wife beater on, and mowing grass, pruning bushes, and lo and behold, this is what happens. But like I was saying, uh, the whole origin for Terry as well as his brother Andy is that Terry, Terry and Andy were both orphans. They're both brothers. They were adopted by this guy, Jeff Bogard. Jeff Bogard was killed by Geese Howard. When that happened, the two brothers basically swore revenge, but what was supposed to happen, they had to both go their separate ways to figure out, what was the best way for them to figure out how to beat Geese. And Andy went to Japan and learned ninjutsu. Terry Terry left for the United States. Terry Bogard is very top heavy. I mean, a majority of his moves are really punches. The and granted, Burning Knuckle and especially the Buster Wolf are probably my absolute favorite um, uh, techniques in any fighting game. They're awesome. Power Wave is also pretty cool, but then he only has like one super kick technique. And if you look at and especially in this figure, his he's very, very muscular on top, chest, arms, but then his legs are kind of skinny, not that proportionate. And if you look at any of the games that he's on, because the majority of American styles, he's more or less a brawler. He picked up a technique from from different places, and basically he's his own man. He developed his own style of fighting that he's comfortable with, and learn how to be able to read other people's moves so that he could always come out on top. And when you see that happening for him to have to come back to Southtown, you're still trying to figure out where the hell is this place. Uh, it was like I said, it's all cobblestone. He doesn't have he has to he doesn't have to get on a plane to fly to anywhere else in Europe. He's on a motorcycle. Last time I checked, there's no bridges, and from the United States to Germany or England, or he had to travel in Fatal Fury 2, and his motorcycle definitely can't run on water. And not to mention he was carrying that kid. I forget his name in the second movie. What what airline is going to let him drag an unconscious kid in, through customs or anywhere else that he's trying to go to, because a kid gets knocked out and then he wakes up, he's in the back, he's in the sidecar of Terry's bike, and Terry's taking him to, at first they were going to go to Germany, then they had to go to England. Now, it's not, like I said, Southtown is not in the United States. For those of you who are Fatal Fury fans, this is going to be a relief. Anybody that played the SNK games. Where is Southtown? You play King of Fighters 94. Every country had its own team. What country was the Fatal Fury team on? Italy. Southtown is in Italy, probably Sicily, if anything. The whole if you watch the animes, everything is more or less a European setting, and it makes all the sense in the world for Terry to have left Italy to leave to the United States, and then for basically the both of them leaving two complete opposite ends of the world for them to train Terry and Andy. And then Joe just got thrown in the mix because he was friends with Andy. He was friends with Andy in the Japanese kickboxing circuit, and then both came to Southtown to compete in Geese Howard's tournament, the King of Fighters. The King of Fighters originally was in the first Fatal Fury game. By the time they came out with the game King of Fighters '94, they changed the rule set as well as the timeline. For those of you that don't know, Art of Fighting with these guys were almost pretty much blatant rip-offs of Street Fighter. And again, the first Art of Fighting game, you only were allowed to play as two characters. You can only choose between Ryo Sakazaki and Robert Garcia. Uh, Both of them basically they didn't have the exact same moves. It was two different styles. Robert being much older and the rich, kind of like the rich older brother, and Ryo being the straight traditional karate guy. Um, since those were the only two you were able to put, and their fighting style was called Kyokuken. Basically, it's a parody of Kyokushin and a few other karate styles. And I wasn't a fan of the graphics or the gameplay for it, but a lot of people were. I find it shocking that it spawned two other sequels after that. I mean, Fatal Fury, when Fatal Fury 1, uh, the first Fatal Fury 2, Fatal Fury Special, Fatal Fury 3, Real Bout. The Real Bout series was phenomenal. My favorite one was Real Bout Fatal Fury Special, and especially Garo Mark of the Wolves, which was they didn't use the background and foreground like they used to. It was the first Fatal Fury game that you couldn't do that, but the graphics and playability were on par with Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is said to be the best 2D tournament fighter ever. And Art of Fighting, didn't necessarily hold a candle to that. It wasn't until the second game that now you could use all these other characters, especially the third game. But the first Art of Fighting, the whole Art of Fighting franchise, started at least 10 years before the first Fatal Fury game. It was a prequel to Fatal Fury. Um, Geese Howard shows up in the second in the as a playable character and the last boss in Art of Fighting 2, and he's dressed up in a suit. And Geese Howard is the last boss in uh, Fatal Fury. Well, in several of the Fatal Fury games, because I believe he's the last boss in 3, and and he's a playable character in 3, and I believe also in Fatal Fury Special, which was basically uh, they added all the old characters from the characters that you couldn't play as in the first Fatal Fury game. You were only able to fight them. So that was like Richard Meyer, Duck King, Tung Fu Ru, and who was Mike? Was it Michael Max? He was a black boxer, wore a hoodie, and you got to fight them as well as all the bosses, and eventually I think Geese Howard was playable there as well, and just before you fight Krauser, and absolutely no ending to there. It's like, oh, you're the best fighter in the world. That was it, you know. They weren't back then. They weren't too much into character development, which at the same time, especially with Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2, you didn't know anything about these characters till you got to their ending, to find out that, oh yeah, Bison killed Guile's best friend Charlie, and he killed Chun Li's father. Uh, aside from that, you didn't necessarily there was nothing was of any real importance at the time. This SNK, especially with King of Fighters, getting into it, really forced Capcom. That was probably Capcom's main competition when it came to fighting games. It forced Capcom to have to be more in depth, to be a lot more serious, not so much slapstick, which they even admitted to being. And because I mean, Dan was fashioned after was a parody of Robert Garcia and Ryo Sakazaki. Uh, freaking Crimson Viper in Street Fighter 4. They basically made her as a parody of everything the SNK does. You got these phenomenal martial artists, but yet they're in business suits. They couldn't understand that they prided themselves on being entirely too serious at the time, and that's what yeah, Capcom wouldn't be what it is today without a SNK. Granted, Capcom was around a lot longer than SNK ever was, but my friend Michael Dorsey, he uh, wrote and published the book Chronicles of Ghost, A Long Week. You can find his page on Facebook, Michael Dorsey, writer at large, and he could agree with me on this, man. Basically, I much rather preferred a lot of the old SNK fighting games to just playing Street Fighter. Now, I love Street Fighter. Absolutely love Street Fighter. I mean that whole shtick I gave the last time. I love Street Fighter, but uh, when it came to when it came to more availability and lot more lot more diversity, SNKs, those the old Neo Geo arcade cabinets with the 4 games you could choose from, whether it be Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, Savage Reign, Samurai Showdown, World Heroes. Last Blade. The list just keeps going on of all these great fighting games that they made just for the sole purpose of you dropping your quarters in and just having a good time, man. And kudos to them for that. I hope this has been somewhat informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.